Spicy Toast Gaming here, and thank you for tuning in to our Lux Illuminated guide for Path of Champions. If you enjoy the video, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Up first, we're going to have a brief overview of the champion, kind of giving you some of their strengths or weaknesses or general playstyle, just so you can better understand the champion and if they're worth investing your time and resources into. Up first, we have support and targeting. So that is the main mechanics that this deck and star powers are built around. Now, we have had some targeting decks before, as in targeting your own units with spells and skills, but this is the first deck that really has support as a core part of its kit, and so that makes this deck feel very different than many of the other ones, and it's great that they're really adding this support functionality into the game, because we haven't really had any support decks up to this point. Now, it is nice that the targeting is still there, so it's not just a support deck, so you're not as pigeonholed into one playstyle, but it is a very fun mechanic, and that's one of the core pillars of this deck. Next up, we have Boost. Now, Boost is, again, a new mechanic just added this patch. And what it does is it can increase your stackable keywords, so Impact as well as Spirit, which is another new keyword added this patch and one of the core to Lux's kit. Now, Boost can also negatively affect the enemy if they have Gloom, but Lux really isn't built around that. You're more focusing on your Spirit stacks, your Impact stacks, and using Boost to buff those up. So you're using a lot of the new mechanics added this patch. Next up then, we have Unit Focused. With that supporting and targeting playstyle as well as boosting, you're really relying on all of your units and just trying to improve them as much as possible. And so this deck is very reliant on having its units and protecting them. Next up then, we have Aggressive. Now, this version of Lux is just a 3-cost champion, so you're able to put a lot of pressure on very early. Not necessarily round 1, but normally the second and third round, you can be potentially ending the game. So you have a much more aggressive playstyle than many other decks in the game. Last up then for this overview, we have Scaling. Now, it's kind of a interesting effect to pair with the aggressive playstyle, but you are actually able to scale up your units quite heavily. So you can put the pressure on early, and if you don't end in those first couple rounds, that's fine, because you can just keep going with bigger and bigger units, which is a very fun playstyle. Some champions, such as like Misfortune, they can be very aggressive early and potentially end quite quickly, but they often can run out of steam and just get outscaled. But with Lux, not only are you aggressive, you're also going to be outscaling the enemy as well. So very fun and strong champion. All right, that's it for the overview. Let's go hop in game and further explain some of the points we touched on here. In game now, you see we have Lux Illuminated, that is at level 30 with 3 stars. So Lux 3-cost 1/2 with Spirit. So that's Spirit. This unit has 1/1 and this can stack. So really she's going to be a 2/3. Support, grant my supported ally Spirit and give me Barrier this round. So every time she attacks, as long as she is supporting someone, she's always going to have Barrier, giving you a nice amount of protection with your Lux. The level up is allies have attacked with or have gained while attacking 20 plus total positive keywords. Now, this gained while attacking is important. That way, if you declare the attack token and then you boost up your entire board, giving them more keywords, you can still trigger that level up. Also, this level up is very good because it's normally going to be triggering while you are attacking, so certain level up relics work very well with Lux. Now, when she levels up, she goes to a 2/3, again with that Spirit, so add 1/1. And now when an ally gains Spirit, it gains it again. So this doubles the amount of Spirit you generate when you're giving your unit Spirit, which is very powerful. Her champion spell is Incandescence, so 3-cost fast, boost all units, and then shuffle another Lux into your deck. So a really handy spell, and once you have Lux leveled, this is very powerful since it's essentially going off twice. Now let's take a look at her star powers. So up first, when ally is targeted or supported, grant it Spirit and Impact. Now this is the 3-star version. If you just have the 1-star version, it's just going to grant it Spirit. So again, really nice, letting you focus on targeting or supporting and giving you multiple ways to scale up all of your units. Now, Inspiring Presence, +1 starting mana, round start, create a prismatic barrier in hand. If you already have one, reduce its cost by 1. So you see that right here, give an ally barrier this round, burst speed. And also this is a 3-cost, so it's going to take all of your spell mana if it's up to full. Great way to both protect your units, which is very valuable, but also to target your own units so you can further scale them up. Really solid power, and nice that If you don't have a lot of mana to spare, you don't have to use this every round. You can just try to save it when it's really necessary. But if you do have a lot of mana, this is something you can then use every single round, which is very powerful. Now, taking a look at the starting deck. So up first, we have Jarrow Lightfeather. So 1 cost, 1/1 because of that spirit, and also additional 1/1 from the Stud Leather. And play effect, grant an ally in hand spirit. Really nice. An important thing for Lux is to make sure all of your units have spirit, so that when you're using any of your boosts, it's going to be hitting your entire board, because if they don't have spirit or impact, then the boost won't affect them. So some of your other cards don't have spirit on them, so nice to be able to play this early and help out some of your other cards, or further scale up your units that already have spirit. Next up then, we have Form Up, so 2 cost burst, give an ally 2/2 this round. Now that give is a temporary effect, so it's just for the round, but again, a great way to target your own units, save them potentially, and scale them up. So really solid combat trick right here. Also, you get that Fabricator on it, so give an ally a common item this game. Next then, we have Lumino Sprite, and this is one of the best cards in the entire game. So it's 2 cost, 2/2. Support, give my supported ally all of my positive keywords and their stacks this round. So if you buff this card up and it gets a whole bunch of spirit and impact, it can then give all of that to another card as well. Now this is a temporary effect of just for the round, but it is still massively powerful. This also gets the Voidling Shell. So while in hand, I have a random keyword that changes each round. When I'm summoned, grant me this keyword. So you can hold on to it and you can see every round what keyword it has, so that when it gets one of those strong ones, you can try to play it. Now, normally you want to play this as soon as possible. So this is more going to be when you have like 2 Lumino Sprites in your hand and you only have enough mana for 1. You can look and see which one has the better keyword and then play it. And just know that that keyword is also going to be given to whatever unit this supports. Very strong effect. Normally you want to have your Lux first and then have Lux support this unit, buffing it up. And then you have this one supporting a third unit, then that unit is absolutely massive. Very good card there. Next up, we have Vanguard Defender. So 2 cost, 2/2 with tough. Also gets that Philosopher's Stone. Really simple and straightforward card, but a 2 cost that is 2/2 and that tough to try to survive some of those hits. A great buff target for you. So normally this is one of the cards that you're just working on supporting to make bigger or targeting with some of your spells. Not really doing a lot on its own, but just a good unit for you to scale up. Next up then, we have the Prodigy. So a 3 cost 4/4 with that pickaxe, and also has Challenger. Again, another buff target similar to the last card, and with this Challenger, you can use it to try to take out enemy targets. Then we have Lux herself as another 3 cost, and Smoldering Smirk. So this is normally a 5 cost, but down to a 4 cost with that mana potion. And this is a very good card. So it is slow, boost 2 allies, then they strike an enemy one after another. Now, this card is very good because while it says boost 2 allies, first you have to target them. So you're targeting 2 of your allies. That then triggers your star powers, giving them spirit and potentially impact if you have Lux at 3 power. And then they're getting boosted, so now that spirit and impact is going up even more. And then both of them are striking an enemy. So this is a great way to buff up 2 of your cards and then also take out an enemy target. Sometimes though, if you don't need to hold on to this to take out a big threat, you can just use this really to buff up some of your units. A very good card, just that multi-targeting really helping you out. Next up then, we have Tree Spirit. So 4 cost 3/3 with that Studded Leather, and it gets Barrier. Now this has Spirit, so it's really going to be a 4/4, and play boost all other units. So really helpful for scaling up your whole board. That being said, before you play this, you want to try to make sure all of your units at least have that spirit, so that when you play your boost effects, they actually will get improved. Last up then, we have the Mage Seeker. So 5 cost 4/5 with that Phage and Targon's Brace. So support, grant my supported ally 1/1. Really nice to have another support card in your deck. Although with this being a 5 cost, you're not going to be playing it that often. Also has Challengers for some more removal if you need it. And when I'm summoned, grant other allies Spirit. So this is a great way to just hit your whole board with Spirit, essentially working like a boost, but even if your units don't have Spirit, they're still able to benefit from this, whereas boost only works if they already have Spirit on them. Also remember, normally when you're going to play this, Lux will already be leveled, so this Spirit that you are granting everyone, it's actually going to hit them twice. So a great way to just scale up your whole board. Overall, a very solid starting deck. Let's go look at the champion level ups just so you can see when you get these upgrades. So up first, your Lumino Sprite gets Voidling Shell. Really solid upgrade. Again, one of the best cards just in the game and especially for your deck. So already getting some more keywords on it, really good. Next then, Smoldering Smirk gets a mana potion, so it goes down to a 4 cost. This is a very good card, better than I was even thinking it was going to be. So this being a little bit more usable by going down to 4 mana, very good. Light Feather at 6 gets Studded Leather, so it's going to be a 1-drop 2/2 essentially. That's also giving another unit 1/1, or granting another unit in hand 1/1 that is. So overall, just a really good value for the mana you're putting into this. Next up then, Vanguard Defender gets Philosopher's Stone, so just a little bit more draw. Always nice to have. At 12, Tree Spirits gets Studded Leather. An okay upgrade, not really that big of a deal. Honestly, you don't play this card that often. At 15, your Form Up gets Hextech Fabricator. Really nice. There's actually a lot of powerful upgrades you can get from this. Either Overwhelm, Spell Shield, Quick Attack. A lot of very powerful effects, even though this is just the rank 1. At 18, your Mage Seeker gets that Targon's Brace, so it gets that extra support effect, which, while good on its own, again, triggers your star powers, so really nice right there. 21, your Prodigy gets a Pickaxe, so it just has a little bit more damage. It's fine, not that big of a deal to be honest. At 24, your Mage Seeker gets Phage. Again, great to get more stats. The Mage Seeker, though, you're really not playing it in most games, so getting multiple upgrades on it, not actually that helpful. And then at 27, so the last item you're going to get, your Tree Spirits get Locket of the Iron Solari. Again, great that they have that barrier, really strong effect, but your 4 and 5 costs, you're normally not playing. Even if you have the mana, often you're going to play extra units, more of your 1 and 2 drops. So these getting multiple upgrades, not the best for you, but again, the entire starting deck and the upgrades you're getting are pretty well put together. Now, let's finish up by talking about relics. So we'll go ahead and actually start with the commons. Now, for your first relic, you probably want to go ahead and get the Chameleon's Necklace. So game start, create 2 copies of me in your deck. Really nice to throw this on as your first relic. With Lux being a 3 cost, you want to be sure you're able to draw her and start playing with her. And then her champion spell, also really good. So if you already have her and you draw another copy, not bad, because you can just use her champion spell then. So normally, if you have a common slot, I would recommend throwing on Chameleon's Necklace. Lost Chapter is decent, because you do have a lot of good spells. So that's also a solid option. And then the Star Child Staff, game start, heal your Nexus 5, always a solid option, especially if you're taking some hits early. So those are generally the picks I would go for common relics. As far as rare relics, the Troll King's Crown, making so your allies have Overwhelm, very powerful effect. Your Lux can normally be on for pretty much the whole game, since you can play her like the second round, and often your biggest issue is just ending the game, because your units, especially before you hit your 3rd star power, just get blocked out. And so making sure all units have that Overwhelm to end games, very helpful. The Grand General's Counter Plan, also solid, making her champion spell every single round, so you can just boost all of your units and increase their scaling, really good. I actually prefer, though, the Deceiver's Crest. So when I level up, create a copy of my champion spell in hand, it costs 0 this round. So Lux levels up when she attacks. So what can happen is, you attack, you level up, you then make this 0 cost incandescent in hand. Since you're leveled, when you boost your units and you increase all their spirit, you're actually doubling that because she is now leveled, so when an ally gains spirit, it gains it again. This is a very powerful effect that just helps you close out games immediately upon leveling. And to really get a dangerous combo, I like pairing this with the Crown Guard Inheritance. So you see that right here when I level up Rally. This is a very powerful build right here. You can attack with Lux. She levels up, so you have another attack token, so you can attack again. You get this Deceiver's Crest, you can immediately boost up all of your units, with that effect now going off essentially twice because you're leveled. And with that Overwhelm, the enemy, even if they block you, won't be able to stand up to you. So really good rare relics right here. Now Condenser, this can be fun. Support, create a 1 cost 1/1 copy of my supported ally in hand. So this can be fun to use on like your Lumino Sprite, so then you can just have more of them, or some of your 4 and 5 costs that boost your board or grant your whole board spirit. Being able to play a 1-cost version of that and just get their play effect is good. I'd say it's a little bit more of like a fun play style to do, and not necessarily the optimal play style if you're trying to end games as fast as possible, but definitely still fun. A note, you probably don't want to do Corrupted Star Fragment. Kill my supported ally and grant me its keywords and stats. So this doesn't give you the stacks of their keywords. So even if you kill a unit that has a bunch of spirit and impact, you're still just going to get one of both of those. Also with Lux, you want to be very careful with your units and keep them alive. So killing your units every time you attack would actually be pretty bad. Green Glade Shadeleaf, this is actually very good for Lux. Support, grant my supported ally elusive. So it's another support effect, so this can trigger your star powers again, and it's grant my supported ally elusive. So this is a permanent buff. Since you have Lux at a 3 cost, every time you attack, you can just grant another one of your units elusive, so your whole board ends up being elusive. Really nice, because while Lux has barrier every time she attacks, your unit does not. So the elusive can work as a way to protect your units while they're attacking, and also make sure the enemy can't really block you. So you can actually replace the overwhelm right here with Shadeleaf, and I think this is actually going to be better in some situations, especially against Lysandra, because against Lysandra, even if your units have that overwhelm, if the enemy has a 9/9 blocker, doesn't really matter if you have overwhelm if you can't punch through them anyways. But making it so your units have elusives so they don't have to worry about getting blocked can actually be very helpful. So this is another great alternative to go with. Blade Rack, allies have Challenger. This is another great one just to make sure you're taking out enemy targets. You have limited removal, so supplementing that with Blade Rack, really good, especially with Lux, because you're always attacking with barrier, so you know she is going to be protected. And this can also be a good alternative if you don't want to go for overwhelm or elusive. This is a way you can make sure your big units are still getting through and getting hits, because you're challenging all of the enemy blockers so they can't block your bigger units. Archangel Staff, kind of the last rare relic we want to talk about. But round start, refill your spell mana. You do have a lot of solid spells, and you're generating spells every round potentially. So having spell mana is very nice to have as well. Great addition for Lux. Now let's talk about some epic relics. First up, the Beast Within. Allies have Overwhelm, and if they have a subtype 1/1, most of your units don't have subtypes, so that part's not really going to help you. But all of your units having Overwhelm, really solid right there. Spectral Scissors, 2/2 support, grant my supported ally ephemeral and summon an exact copy of them attacking. I actually wouldn't go for this. It's more of an all-in play where if you don't end that round, then you've just lost some of your units. And normally with Lux, you want to really be protecting your units. So I don't think Spectral Scissors or Corrupted Star Fragment is really the way to go. Oath of the Guardians, always a solid option. So play, shuffle 5 level 2 champions into your deck and double their stats and draw one of them. Pretty much good on everyone, especially cheaper champions. If you wanted to play with this, you could throw this on with like double star gems, which have an aura effect to give all your other champions 1/1 and reduce their cost by 2/2. So you could have 2 of those on your Lux, essentially giving you 4 cost reduction for whatever champion. And so then you have these giant units, pretty much solid on everyone, but again, not really needed. Fear Cleaving Axe. Now this one is very good. So Spirit, so you have an additional 1/1, and now attack, boost all units. So you're able to boost your entire board. So as long as they have Spirit, they're going to go up by 1/1. So this is very powerful and one of the best items for your Lux. I think it's normally good to put this on and then have Crown Guard Inheritance and Deceiver's Crest. Normally with this combination, in your first or second attack, you can level, rally, attack again, and just end the game. Makes you incredibly aggressive. That being said, while it is very good for your Lux, it's not needed. So if you don't have this relic, you can still win fine. Normally you might win like a round slower, but still, Lux is perfectly fine without this epic relic. But if you do have it, definitely throw it on your Lux. It is amazing. And then last up, as far as epic relics to really highlight, Echoing Spirit, game start, create 7 copies of your deck. Champion spells cost 1 less. So this one is decent. You really want to be sure you have your Lux on the board, and this one pretty much guarantees you're going to draw them at the start of the game. And then getting extra copies of your Lux and having their champion spells go down by 1 is pretty good, because a 2-cost incandescent and being able to play a lot of these to just further scale up your units would actually be quite beneficial. So while not the most obvious or the best choice as far as epic relics, I do think it actually pairs quite well with Lux. As far as what I generally use for the best build, like I mentioned before, it is the Fear Cleaving Axe, Crown Guard Inheritance, and Deceiver's Crest. You just attack, you buff up all your units massively, you rally, you can buff them up all even more with the Deceiver's Crest, and normally can end games very quickly. Also, this is taking into consideration you have Lux at 3 stars, because that way you're getting all this extra impact, so you're doing a bunch of extra damage that way as well. With this, I feel like you don't really need to go with like an Overwhelm Relic or Elusive Relic. While you still can, you can try to pick those up, especially Overwhelm, throughout your adventure through Crush, the common power. But if you don't want to throw on Deceiver's Crest, throwing on like Troll King's Crown, Shade Leaf, Blade Rack, any of those, or even Beast Within would also be quite good. All right, that's it for relics and the in-game portion. Let's go and now take a look at what powers you might want to look for, support champs, cards, and finish off with her ranking. All right, on to powers. So here on the left, we have Domination Round Start Rally. This is a great power, especially for Lux. Since you are unit focused, you need to have your units attacking and dealing damage to the enemy, and also your support effects only go off while you're attacking as well. And so being able to attack every single round really helps you out. This is one of the best powers for you to get. Next up then, Crush allies have Overwhelm. Another amazing power, since you are again relying on your units, making sure their extra damage is actually able to punch through and hit that Nexus, even if they get blocked, is a very strong power to have, even though this is a common. Last up then, Sorcery Round Start to refill your spell mana. You do have a decent amount of spells to support your units, and you are generating a spell every single round from your star powers. So being able to freely have that mana to play all of those spells every single round is quite helpful. Honestly, these 3 are like the core to your Lux playstyle. You almost always want to pick these up unless you're already running like an Archangel Staff to supplement Sorcery, or Troll King's Crown to supplement Crush. Next up then, we have Endurance. When an ally survives damage, granted 1/1. Great way to scale up your units passively. Normally your units can take some hits and keep on going, so this just helps them scale up and survive. Also, even if your units take damage or take a hit but don't actually take damage, so like if they had a barrier and they took a block, or if they had tough and they blocked something but they didn't actually take damage, that still triggers the 1/1 effect. That can be very nice with your units having that tough and barrier. Next, here in the middle, we have the Craftsman Favor. Round start, create a fleeting time and dedication in hand. So every round, this is giving you a 1 cost forge an ally. So a great way to both scale up your units, but also since you're targeting them, this is triggering your star powers, giving them more stats from the spirit and potentially impact. It's another great way just to have targeting your units every single round. Next up then, Vanguard Lookout. Game start, summon 2 Vanguard Lookouts. Lux can really struggle with getting a lot of units on her board early, and especially having units for you to be able to support. So just having some units on board at the start of the game is very handy. Now, while I showcased Vanguard Lookout here, any of the powers, and there's now at this point like 4 or 5 different ones that all summon units at the start of the game, or just ones that even summon units every round, any of those will be very good for you. Last up then for powers we're going to showcase is we have Evolution. Allies have 1/1 for each keyword. Now, important to note for Lux, this does not stack with extra stacks. So even if you have 20 stacks of impact, you're only going to get 1/1 for impact. That being said, you do normally have a lot of keywords, especially if you have your second star power, because you can give your units spirit and impact. So right there, that's 2. So this is going to really help you scale your units quite heavily. Next up then, here in the middle, we have Share the Bounty. So when you target an ally with a single target spell, copy it on your weakest ally. So great for that spell duplication, but this also is going to double your targeting. So it's going to trigger your star powers a second time on another unit. So just further helping scaling up all your units. Now, there are a lot of other also great epic powers for you to pick up, but I don't want to just have the guide be all epic powers. Try to give you some more rare and common ones, which is why we're going to finish off with Phalanx. When you target an ally, give it barrier this round. You're already wanting to target your own units, and now when you do that, they get barrier, so they should be able to survive whatever they're going to get hit with. Another great way just to protect your units and help them scale up. All right, moving on then, we have support champions. Now, as always, this isn't a exhaustive list, but just some champions I think can work out well for you and the reasons behind picking them. So up first, we have supporting and targeting. This is the main mechanic our deck is built around, so having some more champs that also can help you with that is very nice. Next up then, equipment. So this actually counts with that targeting, but equipment is a very easy way to just be able to continually target your units. So actually all of the equipment decks do pair pretty well with Lux. So for some examples, we have Lulu, works really well with that targeting. Lulu also comes with more support units. And when you pick up Lulu as a champion, you're often then shown more support units you can buy in shops and whatnot. So Lulu is a great one to pick up and also is pretty cheap, so really helps you with your early game aggression and scaling. Next up then we have Shen. Shen also works pretty well with that supporting, but he also has some of that barrier synergy. Since you can generate a barrier every single round, Shen actually pairs quite well with that. And then last up, we have Jax. Jax has a lot of cheap units with that equipment, so it can again help you with your early game power and then also be able to get some of that targeting. Again, though, pretty much all of the equipment decks do work out pretty well for you. All right, that's it for support champions. Let's move on to some cards to look out for. Up first here on the left, we have Shield Vault, grant an ally 1/1 and stun an enemy. This also came with Elixir of Skill, so a really nice cheap way to target one of your own units, scale them up directly from the spell, but also for the targeting for your star powers, and gives you some control and draw. Next up then, Rising Light, so slow boost all units 3 times. This is going to be really nice to scale up all of your units. Also, since this is a 6 cost, normally your Lux will already be leveled by the time you can play this. And since Lux is leveled, she's going to double all of the times your units get Spirit. So really, this is boosting all your units almost like 6 times if your Lux is on the board and leveled. So very powerful right there. Spirit Dance, recall an ally to grant all stacks of its Spirit to another ally. So a great way to target 2 of your own units. And yet, while you're recalling one of them, it's a great way to save that unit, but then move a whole bunch of stats over to another unit to either save them or finish off an enemy or maybe just end the game. Next up then, Inspiring Light. So grant allies Spirit. Great way to just, again, boost up your entire board, giving them all that Spirit. Now, when you play this, your Lux probably isn't leveled, but if they were, this would essentially go off twice. You'd have double the effectiveness of it, so really good. And then Spirit Portal, to play, discard 1, grant all ally Spirit. So just another great card to look out for to hit your entire board. Now, one card that I wasn't really able to find is any cards that directly target multiple of your units. So these 2 last ones, they're hitting your whole board, but they're not actually targeting your own units. But some other cards like Concerted Strike, where you pick 2 or 3 of your units to strike an enemy, that is a great way to trigger your boost. Now, you do already have one of these cards in the starting deck that we went over, the Smoldering Smirk or something like that. Another great card to just target 2 of your units directly, even though it's also working as removal. So any cards that directly target multiples of your units are also ones to really look out for. To finish off, we're going to do her rankings and then some pros and cons. Now, before level 20, I think she's a solid A tier champion. As soon as you play her, she feels amazingly strong. And then even after level 20, I think she's still an A tier champion. Don't think she's quite good enough to go up to that S tier personally, but definitely very strong the entire time you're playing her. As far as regional rankings, for the purely Demacia champions, she is the best. I think she's literally better than all of the rest, even though all the others are also very good. I will say there is a bit of a caveat here. Technically, Morgana is a Demacia champion as well. She's multi-region and her entire deck essentially is Targon. So Morgana would really be the only one that is technically better than Lux. But if you're looking at just the Demacia only champions, I would say this new Lux is the best out of all. As far as pros, you get some massive early scaling and a very fun support playstyle. Now, obviously, fun is subjective, but from all the people that I've heard talking about it, everyone is loving this version of Lux. Now, as far as the cons, you have limited removal. You only really have 1 spell that can take out enemy targets, and while it is a very good spell, it's fairly expensive, and you're only hitting 1 target. So it can be good to take out 1 big threat, but if there's a lot of targets you have to take out, or targets you have to take out early in the game, you can really struggle there. Also, you get countered by removal. Since you're so unit focused, if the enemy is able to take out your units, you can really struggle. So really strong, fun champion. Definitely has some drawbacks. It's not like they're overpowered, but a great addition to the game. All right, that's it for the guide. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you're able to learn something from it. As always though, I hope you all have a great day.